Spooky Tuesday.
The other viable is marked Voorhees. That's not Jason Voorhees, is it?
What do you know about him?
Jason Voorhees. He killed nearly 200 people and simply disappeared without a trace. But to the right buyer, he could be worth a fortune.
I've got him frozen right here on the ship.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Jeff.
And this week, wow, it's the first week of 2022. Is it not? Is it not? It is, right?
It is.
I believe it will be at the time of this release. Yeah.
I was pretending. We're recording this we're recording this from the past. But
hello, future.
Yeah, this is a dual timeline.
Embrace,
just like
exactly.
We'll
Why not embrace the future? Why not look into the future of 2022? Just like this incredible film that we're covering this week called Jason X.
What a film. What a film.
And it's a film. Okay. It's not a movie. This is high art. Chelsea's face.
Honestly, think it's a parody. I'm like, here's the thing. I read some IMDb trivia that talked about like the actual production of this movie and how it got put together. I don't know how it possibly came to be without just being one big jokey joke. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not convinced it's not a jokey joke.
I've seen it and I feel like it was fake. Like, I feel like I didn't actually see it. I feel like it was fake. And I feel like we had a joint hallucination and that's what it was. Because we don't usually watch the movies together, but last night, special occasion, we video chatted while watching Jason X together. And wow, did Chelsea go on a face journey.
Chelsea did go on a face journey as she's going on right now.
I just could not believe my eyes, you know what I mean? And I can't tell if I did myself a disservice or a service because I'm on vacation right now and all that I've been doing is mainlining hours and hours and hours of the space seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to my brain, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of very similar content. And I don't think it speaks highly to either, frankly. But it sure was something. It felt like a fan fiction that they made. It was like part Friday the 13th fan fiction, purely just by the fact that it had Jason in it, but it's like a crossover fan fiction. Like it's also, you kept saying like, this is so Firefly. I kept thinking this is so
Star
Agents
Trek
of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
Firefly.
which is also not Joss Whedon, his brother Jed Whedon, but a Whedon property. And yeah, Star Trek. There was a Canadian TV show called Andromeda that seems to be very similar and stars two of these actresses. The girl who plays an android in Jason X plays a lady in Andromeda, and one of the ladies in Jason X plays an android in Andromeda. So like, cute for them or whatever, but it really
crossover.
It really is just crossover alternate universe fan fiction, which you'd think would be so up my alley, but I don't know. I don't know that it was hitting for me last night, you guys.
This was up my alley and around the corner, like deeply within me. This movie now lives. And
sure.
I've been so excited to watch this movie for so long, ever since I watched that absolutely Oscar award-winning trailer for it. And in case you haven't heard me talk about this, heard anything about Jason X, let me break it down for you. This is the 10th movie in the Friday the 13th saga, hence the X. Came out in 2001 and it's the most Y2K shit I ever seen in my life. And this is the IMDb summary. Jason Voorhees is cryogenically frozen at the beginning of the 21st century and is discovered in the 25th century and taken to space. He gets thawed and begins stalking and killing the crew of the spaceship that's transporting him. And that is exactly what happens. Yeah.
Here's the thing. We covered Friday the 13th over the summer. I have not seen a single actual movie with Jason. So,
Me neither.
We just skipped right to Jason X. And it could be that actually this is so in line with the rest of the franchise. And I sound like an idiot for being like, what happened here? Because I truly do not know. I have no information to say the opposite. The only information I have is that it's not just called Jason X because like Space Millennial X is the Roman numeral for 10. It's also that they were under a new like production studio or distribution company or something. They legally could not call it a Friday the 13th movie. They could not put that in the title because it was like the previous company that owned the rights to that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
did that happen like a long time before this movie though? Because like the movie before it is Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, I think it was like
Jason
those
Takes
2 or 3
Manhattan.
maybe.
Is that real? Is that
Yeah.
real? Is Jason Takes Manhattan real?
Oh,
Yeah, and when they were making the 10th movie, they weren't set on space. They were brainstorming a lot of different ideas, and one of them was going to be Los Angeles or Los Angeles again. Maybe there might already be a Los Angeles.
There was going to be one where it's like Jason in the snow.
Oh yeah, this is it. There's a quote from Noel Cunningham. He's one of the producers, and he said, we kicked around different scenarios. Jason in the hood, Jason in the snow, Jason underwater. We had him fighting gangs in LA, in the Arctic, on safari, in space, the NASCAR circuit, everything. We didn't want to shut anything down.
Okay, but here's the thing. If Jason ever took Talladega, if Jason came to Dega, I would be like, could you imagine like all the Alabama rednecks, like my people, like my family out there fighting?
I feel like Jason would thrive.
They
would also thrive though.
I know.
They give him a real run for his money.
Like everybody here would be like, this is what we have been waiting for.
Everybody with their guns in the South, eternally prepared for a villain like Jason.
It sounds beautiful. I mean, the thing is, I feel like I have a big gap in my knowledge of horror films because there's so many franchises that did this fucking shit. Like Leprechaun did.
It feels very Leprechaun. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Especially with Space in the Hood.
Yeah, Friday the 13th totally took that same route and I jumped the shark 5 times over. And I didn't know that it did that. I went from like a very serious film that is beloved, aka the first one, to this. Oh, I'm excited to watch the other ones though.
I mean, maybe it was a gradual change. The previous one is literally Jason Goes to Hell. So I have to imagine Jason Goes to Hell probably very on par with Jason X. And when
Jason Takes Manhattan also.
Sure. Manhattan, hell, space, equally insane places. But when this movie opened, we literally were all like, this looks like hell. What's the deal? And then Sydney had to be like, well, yeah, that's the previous Jason.
Okay. I want to say something. So like Monica was just like, this looks like hell. And I was like, I know the one before this is Jason Goes to Hell. So we think he's in hell, but it's actually the inside of his body. Like,
wait, are you sure?
Yes. It turns into
they do
inside
the CSI
of his body
thing at one point.
Yeah,
but
so like
I thought the hell was
those,
before
like,
that.
So going to hell is, but like the land, like all the hellscapes that we see at the beginning is the inside of Jason's body. It's not actual hell. That I was like, oh, he's in hell. That makes sense. No,
it's like a fake out.
Yeah.
It's like a fake out because like
all of
the
makes so much sense. Like specifically saying that it's a fake out makes so much sense because the thing about this movie that's really wonk is that it comes out in roughly speaking 2001, 2002, depending on where you live. But it takes place. It's quote unquote present day is in like 2010.
Yeah.
And when we were watching last night, we were like, that's so weird. Why did they do that? And then it turns out they did that because they knew that Freddy vs. Jason was in production and was coming, but kept getting like delayed. And you do something like Jason Goes to Space, it's hard to be like, how does Jason return from space in time for Freddy vs. Jason? So they decided to like future date it even in the present day so that it's after whatever happens in Freddy vs. Jason. And that's why they have him in the beginning and he's like at the Camp Crystal like research facility or whatever. And later on, Rowan says like, we killed him 1 billion different ways, 1 billion different times, but he just kept kicking or whatever. So they had to cryogenically freeze him. But
they fucking Tokyo drifted this movie. That's what they did.
But it
Except
makes sense
Tokyo
that they faked
drift.
you out because it came out right after the Hell, and they thought you were watching at home thinking it's gonna be right after Hell, and they're like,
but here's what happened. What happened is that they set up the long-awaited Freddy versus Jason franchise at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, but they couldn't get their shit together for what they actually wanted Freddy versus Jason to be. They're like, it has to be really fucking good. And they hadn't found a way to make it really fucking good yet. And then they were like, shit. People don't give a shit about Jason anymore. It's like, it's starting to like dwindle the buzz after Jason Goes to Hell. We need to put out another movie to keep the buzz alive. And so that's why they were like thinking about space and the snow and Jason underwater and Jason at NASCAR, because they were just literally throwing shit at the wall trying to come up with anything.
Because Jason Goes to Hell came out in 93.
Long time earlier,
And Freddy versus Jason came out a literal decade later in 2003. And so they were just like, and this movie was actually filmed in like 1998 or 1999, but had like hella delays.
They said, oh, these special effects are taking forever because they're so high tech. They're like so high tech, you guys.
And then by the time it came out, they were not high tech. You want to know what this movie gives me vibes of? Like
what?
Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
Yes.
Like
it's
all the fashion, like the space thing, like this is that.
It's Disney Channel original vibes.
Yes.
It's like, I know that it's not retrofuturism, but like it feels like that, but Y2K version. It's just like, it's like 2455 does 2001. Like, why would everyone be dressing the exact same as 2001 and 2455? I don't know, but I don't care. I love it.
Wait, actually, I have a theory.
Oh, yeah?
Which is, first, I just want to say it is so weird to watch the fashion in this movie at this point in time. I think 2 years ago, it would have been less weird, but there's really been in the past few years, like such a resurgence of the early 2000s trends.
Oh, yeah.
That it's like, to us, we recognize it as very strange that these are early 2000s era outfits, but made out of knitwear specifically for some reason. But also TikTok baddies would absolutely be wearing literally any of this at any given moment right now.
I had all this Y2K shit ready to go, baby. Okay.
Yeah. But the plot of the movie is that he gets cryogenically frozen. They find him in the future or whatever, and they're like, ooh, but that guy's a professor and everybody else is a student, and then like they're armed guards or I don't know why they need armed guards.
They're
other
on
than,
a
I guess,
field trip apparently.
Space. But I think they might be like future anthropology students who are like digging out artifacts and are learning about like that time period or whatever. So it might be that they're on their like 2010 archaeological dig site and they're all really into the culture. And so they're like, let's wear 2000. They were trying to predict 2010 trends maybe, or they're like throwing it back. They're wearing 2000s era clothing on purpose because that's what they're studying. They're also invested culturally.
Okay, they like me love a theme, and that makes me love all of them way more. They execute it so well. Or maybe like they're in the reality, it was just like, these are the hottest looks of 2001 or 1998, whenever this was filmed. And like, they didn't think about how it should probably be space space-like or something. I don't know. They're like, you know what? We're just gonna go what's in vogue right now, and I love them
Except-
for it.
Except when they find cryo frozen Jason and Rowan, who's supposed to be our like final girl, and they're all wearing like Star-Lord masks.
True.
Bro, the
And then they're like, we don't
steampunk
need
of
to
it
wear
all.
these. The atmosphere is fine.
Yeah, they did the steampunk thing kind of weirdly. That's also gave me big Firefly energy. I'm just like, why there are so many things occurring right now that they are trying to do, but they're not fully doing them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an overarching theme of the film. But
That
I
is
mean,
also what an online site that I found, a Comic Con, or I don't know how to pronounce it. There's only one C, comicon.com, but clearly it's a play, whatever. An article from that site was talking about how like this really was trying to be an exciting movie that was doing a lot and wanted to be a lot, and then for some reason they just like didn't quite deliver on it. You know what I mean? Like it's not funny enough to really be, it's a cult classic style idea, it's a camp style idea, and there's like one or two moments that are worthwhile, and then the rest of it, it's just not punchy enough to really.
speak for yourself.
Okay. All right. That's just one woman's opinion, but
I
for
mean,
me,
yeah.
it was just like not. It was any random episode of Agents of Shield. You know what I mean? It wasn't enough for a standalone movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I really had a good time, but it was definitely not good. Like it was very
Sure.
bad. Like it was certainly horrible. But like I mean, let's just get into it. Like the very first thing that happens is like our main girl Rowan is like, "Yo, we got to make sure you do not that we cryogenically freeze Jason Voorhees so we never have to deal with his shit again." And then this corrupt, greedy scientist, played by legendary horror director David Cronenberg.
Why is he here?
Why
What
not?
is he doing?
He wanted to die. He was like,
love
I
him.
will
I
only
love
be
that.
in this movie if I get killed.
But why would he at all agree?
For the lulz, Chelsea. Come on.
Because it's
That's
fucking hilarious.
That's hilarious. That's the best
has
thing I've ever
literally
heard.
Nothing to do with the franchise, as far
He
as I
wanna
know.
get in on
other
it.
than his like mentee was working on it, and his mentee was like, "Bro, you want to be in this movie?" And he was like, "Sure, fine, as long as I get to die on screen."
Yeah, he was
Icon.
just like, this will be so
Iconic.
funny. I'll be like, hey,
But
I
here's
suck,
the thing too.
and then I die.
But here's again, like if you're in the horror thing, like what an honor would it be to be like murdered on film by Jason? Know what I mean? Like that is a
Sure.
fun thing to have.
I'll
On
do
your-
it. Look,
on your
you don't have to
repertoire.
twist my arm. I'll do it, but
I'll do it. You don't have to twist my arm. You let me know, Jason, if you'd like to kill me in the next film.
Jason, step on my neck, murder me. Thank you.
Jason,
Oh,
don't step on my
God.
neck. That's not my vibe, but good for you, girly.
Okay, the thing is, like, I know that Jason is like some, what do we call him? A Ghombie? He's a Ghombie of some
Mhm.
sort. And he's supernatural and whatever. And I don't know why it pisses me off more coming from Jason, because like Freddy is literally like a weird burn victim that lives in your dreams. Like, why do I believe that more? But I think it's because he's funny and Jason's not bringing that to the table.
Jason doesn't have the one-liners.
But
No.
like, does he have super strength to the point where like we're supposed to be like, yeah, it's totally fine that he can shove his machete through a cryogenic chamber and stab Rowan in the stomach? Like, what? Like, is the machete magic? Like, what? How? How?
One of the things that I don't like in horror, which you get with Jason and a little bit like Michael Myers, like I don't like the indestructible bad guy.
Me neither.
Like I think they're a little boring. Like, okay, great. Like we're not
There's
going to be
no
able to kill
hope.
them. right? Like
Yeah.
there's not like a when you get with like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or the like original Friday the 13th is that they're people and they can be defeated. They're not these like big omnipresent bad guys. Although sometimes when the deaths are incredible, the deaths are incredible.
They
Yeah.
speak for themselves sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, no, I hear
guess
you. I
that's the
think
appeal.
it's partly what Monica's saying is like you want some hope for the characters and for the movie at all in general. And then also I think when you have an indestructible baddie, it works best on the scale of like 1 to 2 films, you know what I mean? Like they refuse to die despite everything you're doing to them in the film, and then somehow miraculously you're able to put a stop to their crimes for now. Maybe they pop back up like one more time, but to keep going for 10 movies is a little not to call out any franchises in particular, but to keep going for 10 movies, it does a little bit go like, okay, is the value of Jason not saying anything and slashing someone with the machete high enough that I don't care? Like Sydney's saying, are the kills high enough that it no longer matters that the story is the same thing over and over and over again in space or underwater or whatever? You know what I mean? Because like they're not going to bring super new twists to the franchise if it's still just the same indestructible. But Freddy versus Jason, that's something different. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
spicing it up. But if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
just giving me a new location and new people to get murdered, it's like, that's fine. I'll read the same fanfiction trope 1 billion times. But eventually I might want something fresh.
That's why this is such a big gap in my knowledge of horror. Is just like I haven't trudged through, sorry to use a negative word, but trudged through all 10 of this franchise, or all however many Leprechaun films, or all however many Freddy Krueger films. Like I just like I see the original, I'm like, that's cool. And then I'm like, let's watch a different concept, because horror has
Yeah.
so many things to offer. I'm just like, I don't need to go back to Ghombie Jason
If
10
they
times
put
over.
Parker Posey in every third installment in a horror franchise, I would be there. You know what I mean? But like, if they're not ready to deliver to that degree, I'm just not in a rush.
Yeah, and Scream is different too, because Scream again is like people killing people. So I don't know.
It's
like
a new
it could
person,
be,
new motive
it's a
every
new
time.
person every time. Yeah, and it's more like it's not a murder mystery, but it is. I don't know.
Okay, but
Especially the third
also-
one's like the Scooby Gang.
One of the one of the setbacks of this film is
Mhm.
they wanted it to be more like Scream.
What?
So yes,
They
so like
got that. No.
when they were like when they first started, like, so I think this movie started going into production like late 90s, so like 98, 99. So when they were starting to write it, Scream had come out, and so they went back like from the original script that they wrote, and they were like, you need to make this more like Scream, which is why this movie kind of has, it's like a little bit more like meta-y, like self-aware.
It does have moments of that. I mean, I read this great article from GQ. GQ has reviewed every single Friday the 13th movie on whatever year. It's like every Friday the 13th they review one, and they've gone through almost all of them now. So read those articles. But yeah, they're saying that like the best parts of this movie are when they do exactly that, when they make fun of themselves, like when they laugh at
That
how
was the best
fucking
part of Jason
ridiculous
X.
this is. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
That
the
they
part at
tried
the
so
end,
hard.
the virtual reality, when they sent him into the
Oh.
virtual reality, that was fun, and I loved that.
It's the best scene of this movie. Like
That made it almost all
is-
worthwhile.
Yes.
And they wanted to bring Pamela Voorhees back for that. And they wanted to have her like reprise her role and possibly have Jason attack his mommy just to be like, see, he's so far gone or whatever. I don't know if she'd been in any of the, I think she's just in the one. But again, my Friday the 13th knowledge, not up to par. But unfortunately she could not come to an agreement with them, which is interesting that IMDb says could not come to an agreement, which suggests that there was literally any interest at all on her end to be in such a film as Jason X, which generous of her, generous. But
You know what? She wanted some money. Good for her. Let
Good
us
for
get her
her.
money.
Okay, but
good for her.
Can we talk about the two stars of this movie? And it's the virtual reality girls, the campers, and they're like,
Oh yeah.
do you want to drink a beer? Do you want to smoke some pot? Do you want to have premarital sex? We love premarital sex.
They literally rip their tops off. There's like a
And, like,
fair
they
amount of titties in this movie.
There's a lot of titties in this movie. Like, and there was supposed to be volleyball players in this scene that were just topless.
Wow.
Like,
Which
That's too bad
is
that got cut.
insane. And very funny. And the thing is that per IMDb trivia, and I will read directly, neither the casting director nor the director initially wanted to do the virtual reality scene. Cook was so adamant the scene was nothing but gratuitous nudity that she refused to cast the roles of the two topless girls, relegating those duties to her casting assistant. Isaac agreed that it was clearly just nudity for nudity's sake, and the only way he could personally justify it is if they had fun with it and made it really silly, which is being like really silly.
Well, they
is, first
did
of all,
that.
so
They made
yeah,
it
they
really
absolutely
silly.
did. And it is very funny, but also I can see how people would be like, "Oh, gross! That's so nudity for nudity's sake." Which, like, yeah, but also that's the part of the self-aware thing is that so much of Friday the 13th as
Yes.
a franchise is nudity for nudity's sake, and this film
Exactly.
actually has like some of the least nudity of any of the Friday the 13th movies.
But it's got some really fucking hilarious nudity. Like, what's the name of the android girl?
KM.
KM. So she like is hot as hell. And has the weirdest haircut, but like it works for her. And she's in love with her creator, whose name is something that I cannot say. I don't know. It's
I
like
don't know any. Well,
it's like
that's a lie. I know a couple.
Aaron, but with like half of the word tsunami at the beginning of it, and I really like that about it.
You're
It's like
ringing bells for me now,
Susaron.
but
It's like Susaron. I'm not kidding. I read it in the article. Anyway, and she and him have like a little thing, and there's this scene where where he's trying to create nipples for her, like the metal nipples, and they fall off of her tits, and you just see like her like
I think I
nippleless
repressed
tits.
that.
Yes, Chelsea, you look shocked. I'm like, that's my biggest takeaway was that moment. And then she has this whole thing where she's like very human, and she's like, well, this other girl has them, and so I want them
Janessa has
too.
tits, so I want
Janessa
tits.
I want
has
'em.
Janessa's the one wearing the incredible corset top.
Oh my
That's
god.
like just the two
Oh, yeah.
sides, and then it's like
Okay,
That's the hottest top.
Janessa is the girl with the clamps with the professor.
oh my god.
There were
I think
like
I tried to
four.
forget all of this movie.
You really did. There are like 4 or 5 scenes in this movie where like all of us, like our jaws unhinged from our mouths and fell onto the ground and rolled away. And that was one of the moments. Like,
Okay, but this movie is incredible. Like this scene specifically, because it like pans to 3 different like this one giant scene pans from like 3 different scenes. You have a girl dissecting Jason in a lab, and then you have this like couple who are fucking. One, the guy of the fucking couple is Paolo for the Lizzie McGuire movie.
What?
Yes.
Is this a lie? I had a time.
Sing to me, Paolo. I just hurt myself. I just
Stoney
whacked my arm on my
is
bed.
Paolo from
from
the Lizzie
shock.
McGuire
You're
movie.
lying. Is
That's
this
not true. I won't believe you until I know and I see it with my eyes.
Yanni Gelman is his name. Yanni, come through. Are you Paolo? Oh my God, he is. He was also in 47 meters down.
What? Where are you seeing this? Where are you seeing this?
47 meters down.
It all comes back to 47 meters down. Are you kidding me? Is he wait? How did we not figure that out when we
must
watched
have.
47
We
meters?
must
No,
have.
We
no,
did
we
not.
did not. We
Because
did
when
not.
I was doing research, I was in shock and I was like, somebody's gonna bring this up, but nobody had. I was like, am I the
What's his
only one
name?
who knows this?
What's his name? What's his actor name?
Yanni
His real name,
Gelman.
one would
He
say.
played Lewis or possibly Louis in 47 Meters Down.
Was he one of the hot guys that they kiss in the club?
Yeah, I
God,
think
he is.
so.
I'm gonna kill myself. Anyway,
Wow.
I guess 2022 is the year of realizing things.
It's funny. We're just out here realizing things.
I'm just realizing things.
Oh
Oh,
my God.
have you ever seen such a beautiful night? Wow. Okay, wait. What were we
Okay,
talking
but also
about?
now that it's
Jason X.
2022 and this movie came out in 2002, it is the 20th anniversary of this movie. At some point this year.
Incredible. Wow. We did that on purpose.
It's both the 20th anniversary this year at the time that we're recording and the 20th anniversary this year at the time this episode comes out because
Depending
of
on
the
where you
weird
live.
distribution. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it came out in Europe first in
Mhm.
2001.
Well, so
Wow.
that like this is the worst
Probably
performing
debuted at Con.
this is the worst performing Jason X movie, and a lot of people
What?
Of all the Jason
Stop.
X movies.
yes.
It's like
Of all of the ones that take place in space, this is the worst one.
But so it premiered in Spain in 2001, and then it was hella pirated, and so a lot of people saw it, and then by
Age
the
of the
time
internet, baby.
it opened in like America, it made like almost no money. But this movie had an extreme like blockbuster like DVD renaissance, and it it has like the highest grossing like after like box office like DVD movie rentals of all of the Jason movies.
That scans so hard. That makes so much sense to me. I can see myself at a blockbuster, like just VHSs. That's not how it works. And being like, what? The fucking chrome face.
Right?
Yeah, I
You're
will
just like,
say for all of our Jason doing whatever in a new setting, blah, 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 space is very different than being at Camp Crystal Lake for the 7th time. You know what I mean? Like, I will say that's new territory. They're breaking new ground for sure. Maybe I didn't give them enough credit for that earlier in this episode.
That's true. Wait, okay. We were talking about the most important scene of the entire film before you revealed
Being nipple
the
clamping,
craziest.
or-
Yes,
okay,
the nipple clamping.
let's
So
go back.
bring us back. Bring us back.
Let's rewind. Okay. So we see Janessa walks into the professor who's like in charge of
Professor Lowe, I believe is his name.
yeah, he's in charge of like this expedition and this spaceship. And I also have some issues with the timeline that I want to get to after this too.
Okay.
And while Paolo and the other girl that I can't remember her name are fucking, and Janessa and the professor are like dry humping, and she's like nipple clamping him, like there's no penetration. It's just her like
Stop.
It's just
his
nipple
You're
play.
with a clamp.
forgetting something important.
What?
First of all, she walks in with a bottle of champagne and the fucking clamp and says, "I'm here to talk about my midterm," or something like that about
Which
her grade.
honestly, I'm gonna steal.
And then it cuts to like all the other stuff you were just describing, and cuts back, and he is wearing purple sheer lingerie
Oh, I
as she's
forgot about
squeezing the
that.
ever-loving shit out of his nipple with this clamp. And what is he screaming?
She's like, am I gonna pass? Am I gonna pass? And he's like, you get an A.
Before that, he's screaming something fucked up too. I feel like he's
Oh,
saying
it's like
mommy or
harder?
something like,
Harder?
harder. That's what it is.
But so
Jesus
it cuts.
Christ. It was
to-
explicit.
Oh, it was, and it cuts to like these. It cuts to like the girl with Paolo, like her like orgasming face. But then it also cuts back to the lab, and with all the like intense sexual energy, Jason is revived. Like as soon as the other girl with
there are horny people nearby, that triggers my fight or flight
he's
response.
like, people are being
is
naughty.
that the smell of horny teens?
I must kill them. But you see, and then we get the greatest death ever. And Gone Too Soon is, I don't remember her name, but she's got perky nips and a nice little knitwear top.
Cute
and
knitwear.
But here's the thing. How did she not hear him? Like,
there's so much fucking going on this spaceship that she just discounts any noise she hears. She tunes everything out. She says, I will not be tricked into walking in on something, stumbling upon something again. It is not for me. You guys go have your crazy sex all over the fucking ship. I will be singing a song to myself in my head. That's the only thing I can hear now.
Wait, okay. There was this really good quote from the article that I read from GQ about this moment of the film. Because basically, like, the reason that Jason like survives is when they want to keep him on the ship because the professor wants to sell him to make money, because even in 2455, people still know pretty much immediately who Jason Voorhees is. It's been 400 years.
It's been 400. Okay. Continue, and then I want to talk about the timeline. I have beef. And so it's been 400 years, and it's still the same thing. They want their money, so they're keeping him on the plane when they should have shot him out into space. On the spaceship, not the plane. Excuse me. This isn't space. And so this is the amazing quote. Basically, like, they lay Jason down on this table, and like is it the nanobots? The nanobots don't break him. They call them
up. That's later. He just like unfreezes himself. He's been cryogenically frozen and is deemed dead, but he just comes back to life. And it says, and once Jason is unfrozen, he doesn't react the way I suspect basically anyone else would react if they suddenly woke up hundreds of years into the future on a spaceship. Whoa, I'm on a spaceship. Not Jason. His first priority is getting his machete back. His second priority is killing everybody with his machete. Jason X takes Jason's single-mindedness to a surreal, almost hilarious extreme, implying that there's literally no time or place in the universe where Jason wouldn't just wake up, shrug, and start slicing up any horny teenagers he could find.
No thoughts, head empty Jason.
Okay, but we also do learn
that head empty King.
we do learn that Jason's brain is the size of a walnut, and because they're like, how does he even function with a brain this tiny?
I totally missed.
Oh my god!
Here's
the thing. I clearly missed a lot of this movie because while watching it last night, I kept being like, "Are you kidding me?" And then I thought maybe I would watch it again. And then I decided I'm sick and I don't need to put myself through that. And so I won't be doing that. And I'll just read IMDb trivia, and that will be my due diligence. And so far I think it's gone okay. But every time you guys say something about this movie, I keep being like, oh yeah, like, what was that about? Why did this happen? What is going on here?
Your brain protected you.
Okay, I love her, and I hate what we're doing here today.
Okay, but so this is something that while I was working today, as I was scheduling many music logs for multiple country stations today, this is all that I could think about. When the professor is talking to the guy about, like, he's like, I have these 450-year-old perfect specimens, but they talk about how, like, it's been 4.55 centuries, so like the math doesn't math, like
the math isn't mathing.
The math is not mathing.
Is it a rounding error?
I don't know, but he's like, they're 450 years old, but if they are so ahead of long in the future, like, this woman was not 0 years old when she was frozen. Like, she had to at least been like 25. So she would have been like 470 something years old, not 450. But also, like this takes place in 2010.
Yeah, but
Like-
the current, the part
Like-
before they're in space is in 2010.
Yes. But then they're like, you've been frozen for like 4.55 centuries, which is 455 years. But they are in 2455. So
I think
therefore,
they're just not being very specific, which
mov-
is not very scientific of them.
but then the movie should have been like the movie would have taken place in 2000, which is when they would have filmed it. So like they didn't account for that they were filming the first part 10 years into the future.
I so hear you. I hear what you're saying. I think it's an issue of like, on one level, they're, I think, archaeologists. So they're not necessarily thinking about what
Babe,
they're
archaeologists
finding.
do that shit. Don't they carbon date shit?
Yeah, but if they're talking about the time at which it was preserved and it's been preserved for 450 years, they're not going to necessarily, if you find a shard of pottery or a wooden whatever, you can carbon date it back to like how old that it's different for different things. You know what I mean? I think they're just not taking into account that these are people who existed before their time of preservation. Like if you're finding things from Pompeii, you know what I mean? If you're finding bodies in Pompeii, do you say that this mummy is whatever years old, or do you account for how old that person may have been? I think you just go like, this was a 16-year-old at the time of Pompeii doing its Pompeii thing, and this now specimen has been preserved for X amount of years.
On our next episode of Spooky Tuesday, we will bring
Yeah,
on
where's
an
our archaeologist expert? Why don't we have a
weigh
friend who
in.
did archaeology?
Was this an error on the part of the producers and writers of Jason X?
Where were
Find
the
out next week.
archaeologists who were working with Jason X to make sure that they could get the details of archaeology factually accurate for the film?
Honestly, I'm like really disappointed.
Honestly,
that
they're
they
just like
didn't do
not
that.
living up to standards.
It's,
Which is
like,
rude.
pretty messed up. And I expected more from a movie of the caliber of
I
Jason X.
expect more. You're 10 movies into a franchise. You telling me you've had 10 tries at this and you still can't figure out how to get an archaeologist on the phone? I don't think
You've
so.
done this 10 times and you don't even understand archaeology yet. I can't
Wow.
believe it.
Humiliating.
Truly, it's humiliating.
No wonder this film flopped.
But speaking of archaeologists, our girl, who I don't know,
Adrian.
Adrian, our girl,
I remember.
you
her
know
as,
the
like,
blonde
Adrian
in the nice
Palicki,
knit?
or Padleaky. I don't know what her name is, but she was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a very sexy, also tall blonde. So connections.
when Jason is awoken from teen
slumber.
climax, you know, he immediately is like, time to kill, and goes in for my personal favorite death. And he grabs Adrian. Is that what you
Yes.
said?
How many
Okay.
times must I say?
I don't remember.
In one ear, out the other.
Gone
Immediately
too
forget.
soon.
Immediately
Gone
forget.
Too soon. Grabs her from behind. Is like yanking her. We think we might also see a titty, but we don't. Very
It gets
close
so
though.
Yeah.
close.
Very,
Very
close.
close to a titty.
But God forbid there's gratuitous, like unnecessary.
God forbid.
God
In a
forbid.
Jason
forbid.
movie? Wow. Unheard
then-
of.
But he like puts her head in like a sink full of liquid nitrogen, pulls it out, and then smashes it on the table. And then she just has like a cave face. And it is so cool. And it is so
It's
cool,
really
in fact,
cool.
that they tried to recreate it in an episode of Mythbusters to see if
with
it was
a real
possible.
person's face. Like with what?
They did it with like a skull and like some other like they would like put like fat and stuff on it and like saw if they could like smash it. You can't, unfortunately. So
Damn.
But they also didn't do it in space, so maybe that was the
space is
factor.
different. Space
That
is
was
different.
That's the
missing.
factor.
Space is
That's the
different.
factor.
Space is
Wow.
different.
They didn't even do it in space.
Didn't
I
even-
thought
Wow,
Mythbusters
so much
would
for
be
busting myths.
I think
Wow.
Nobody's living up to our exacting standards today. And I say
think we
exacting,
should-
but I also feel like we're not asking for much. Just go to space.
Yeah.
I think this is a case for Jeffrey Bezos to be like, you are going into space now. I think we should see if this is plausible.
If
Go
Jeffrey
up
Bezos
there,
wants to use his
bring
personal
Elon
money
Musk.
to go to space, the least he
Elon
can do.
Musk's face, put it in a
Right.
liquid nitrogen. Cha! See what happens.
Billionaire battle.
I'd pay to
Apparently
watch
though,
that.
this was also a maybe clear reference, who knows, but there had been an X-Files episode where they did a very similar death. Do you recall, Monica?
That's ringing a bell to me.
Apparently it was season 1 episode 23, and Roland, I don't know if that's just the name of someone in that episode or if that's a character, because I've never watched, but Roland, who's possessed by his deceased brother in the scene, kills a scientist by dunking his head in a barrel of liquid nitrogen and then smashing his head to pieces on the floor. We also got a liquid nitrogen death in Freaky, the movie with what's her face and Vince Vaughn. What's her name? I like her. Catherine Newton.
Oh yeah, I just looked this up and I remember this. Oh God, what an episode! Love that show.
Yeah, I would say that is definitely one of the most iconic deaths of Jason X, though. There's a lot here because I think his body count is actually the highest in this movie than it is in any other Jason
There's
movie.
a lot of deaths.
Oh, he just fucking annihilates. There's all these like soldiers, like space soldiers, one of which is named Gecko, and it is true that she is canonically gay in my mind. She's giving
Incredible.
off big gay vibes. And she's only in it for like 5 seconds. But yeah, her death isn't that cool. She just gets her throat slashed and then she's like, blah, 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 and then she dies. Hate to see it.
Classic.
But I mean,
Even
of
though
all
this
of
movie is it's like 91 minutes or something like that, and most of them are the opening titles, which are like 4 minutes long. So this
Oh my
movie's like
God.
80 something minutes. This movie seems like it is like 2.5 hours long, and mostly because it's this army scene.
It just
This
kept
army
going.
scene is like a 10-minute scene that is so unnecessary, except for
oh yeah, it is so long. And
It's
I was like,
so
I don't care
long.
about literally any of these people. You didn't introduce me to any of these
any of
people,
them.
and now you're picking them off one by one. Cool, I
They
guess.
had to have so many people because there are, I'm not sure if this is exactly the exact number, but IMDb trivia says Jason murders 28 people, and the only character, and so I don't know if she's the 29th. The only character in the movie that dies but isn't killed by Jason is Kinza, and she's the one that tries to bail in the little escape shuttle, and it does not go well for her or for anybody.
Yeah. She freaks out, shuts down, and tries to drive away the escape pod while it's still connected to the fuselage like an idiot. And then she blows up.
Girlie, check the fuselage. Everybody knows you put your seatbelt on, you check your rear view mirror, and you check your fuselage before you pull away from the pump.
It's
Yeah,
so
girl.
true. And also, this is what you get when you forsake all of your friends. You know, she forsook
guess.
all of her
Instant
friends and
karma.
then she blew up. So that's what bitches blow up.
Another
know?
47 meters down, uncaged reference.
But I mean, I think out of all of the death scenes in the army part, which like is just literally a blur, the only one that's really notable is the screw one. But that one is really
good.
fucking fun.
That was good.
Some guy, no one knows who he is. He has a name, but I won't even deem it with an IMDb lookup. Gets thrown onto this thing that you think it's just like a big spike, but it's actually a screw. And so he starts slowly spinning down the thingy, down the screw. Very beautiful, very cinematic. And then at one point someone says, "What happened to insert name here?" And they say, "He got screwed." which I liked that. That's something
Incredible.
I personally really liked. It was good.
Incredible writing.
I
The
will
writing
say,
is really good.
oh gosh, the writing. I will say I liked the first virtual reality scene. When we saw the two guys battling dinosaurs, and then Jason comes in. I thought what I thought was really fun and interesting, and then it was like so funny. But previously in the movie, when they discover the cryogenic chamber or whatever, they open it up. Jason falls out. His machete frozen forward in his hand immediately cuts somebody's arm off, and they're like, "Don't be a baby. It's no big deal." And they take him to the nanotech chamber. His arm gets stitched right back on. No problem, right? So these were the stakes that I thought we were dealing with. And then in the virtual reality thing, they're battling dinosaurs, and I was like, okay, cool, dinosaurs are here now too, whatever. And then Jason comes in, and they're like, I don't remember this level. And so you're like, okay, they're playing a video game of some kind, and he kills them. And in the moment, they're like, ah, man, or they say something funny. I took no notes. It was only vibes. And I refused to rewatch. So I don't know what it was they said, but I liked what it was. And then it was very funny that they revealed that actually Jason hadn't killed them at all. And that's why their responses were so nonchalant, because they were just like sitting nearby him on the ground, because those were their like virtual reality avatars that he had chopped in half. But also what I thought was happening was that it was truly no big deal for anybody to get killed as long as they get like sliced open in such a way as that, because they can just go in the nanotech chamber. And I thought, okay, unkillable Jason, but also to some degree unkillable cast and crew. But no, unfortunately,
no, it ain't
extremely
that-
killable cast and
it
crew.
ain't that way.
Extremely killable. I was like, Adrian
Yeah.
can't be put back together, but like somebody gets sliced in half, you put that head right back on it and it's together.
Yeah, and the nanobots really come back to bite them here in this movie, because one of the greatest parts of the film that happens a little bit later on, and there are more deaths to discuss, and we'll get to them.
Because there's literally 28.
There's 28. Like
There's
they've all
too
blurred into
many.
one giant death. But KM, is telling the guy who created her, maybe his name, we're calling him Tsunami. Tsunami that that they have a 12% chance of survival. At this point, all the army dudes are fucking dead pretty much. Like it's just the students left. So like they're not good at killing. And Cam's like, yeah, there's a 12% chance of survival. And Tsunami's like, that's terrible. Can't it get better than that? And then they make out right then, and she pulls away, and she's like, now there's a 53% chance of survival. And they go in and make out again, and she's like, now it's 80 something. And he's like, let's shoot for 100. And they keep making out. And apparently, like in this article I read, I was like, okay, haha, what is going on? But like them making out is like giving her a new like modus operandi, like her new reason for living. Now she like has love or whatever. And so she like is like, I'm gonna fight harder now or something.
My God.
And then he like gives her like a boot up, and she turns into this super fucking awesome badass robot bitch with like 1,000 guns, which is like one of the greatest parts of the movie, because you finally think like, oh, the score is kind of settled now. It's like, not settled, but it's like an even playing field. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
Like she has a super sick, sexy leather outfit on, which I love.
Pleather.
Pleather,
With like
or like
bullets
vinyl.
around.
yeah, bullets.
It's
like
the really
as the
shiny
straps.
one.
And she's a bad bitch. And then she like there's a lot of back and forth, but she fucking kills Jason. She literally kills Jason. She shoots his fucking arm off, and she shoots his fucking leg off. And I just want to say that I feel vindicated, because earlier in the film I had said cut off his legs, and then they do. And that's what kills him. I mean, it's not what kills him. She also blows his head off too. And there's a lot of like gooky stuff that's not just blood that comes out. I feel like some green stuff comes out of him, which I
is
wouldn't.
very Nightmare on Elm Street.
Very ooky gooky. And then you're like, oh well, fuck, he's dead. Thank God. But the dumb idiots didn't realize that he fell back onto one of the fucking nanobot tables that heals you and does surgery. You know, those nanobot tables
Oh,
that
you
we
know
all
the
have.
nanobot tables.
You
Yeah.
know, the nanobot tables. And they literally it literally revives Jason and makes him into like this incredible titanium cyborg Jason.
Which is
And
insane because I thought they would call him Mecha Jason, but they call him Uber Jason on
Uber
IMDb trivia.
Jason.
Uber Jason.
It should be
Jason.
Mecha Jason. He's a half cyborg now.
But like
one of the things too is I know in the trailer it kind of gives like this new and improved Jason away, and on the poster it also gives this new and improved Jason away.
Yeah.
And new and improved Jason is only in this like 90-minute film for like 14 minutes.
well, that's the thing. That's why everyone was so pissed. Like all the people who made it were so pissed by that marketing choice because that's the big twist of the entire movie is that they killed Jason, but then still somehow he can come back to life because of nanotech technology. I don't know. And they literally spoil it in every single marketing image that they have. And it's just like, that's the exciting part of the movie. And they're like, but you already knew that going in, didn't you?
Incredible.
But you
Incredible.
already knew that.
Just really played themselves on a lot of different fronts here.
They shot themselves in the foot, but like it's a pretty fucking like the trailer. Like, okay, if you don't want to watch Jason X, at least watch the fucking trailer. It literally has that song "Bodies," like when let the bodies hit the floor. That song. It has that song.
Oh my god.
It has that. That's why I made us watch this movie because I saw that trailer and it changed my life. Watch it. I will link it in the show notes.
Can we talk about the greatest end scene that has ever happened? And it starts with Uber Jason is back and they're like, "Oh my god." And the android lady
Extra hot now.
the android lady's like, "I can try and take him," and immediately gets her head chopped off. Like
Punched
no
right
fight.
off.
Like just
For
no
a
fight.
second.
Like so everybody's like, "Oh shit. Oh shit." And what is it? They try one of the
Wayland,
Wayland.
which is an alien reference because his name is Waylander, but they call him Wayland sometimes as a nickname. And the ship in Alien was from like the Wayland-Yutani company.
Interesting.
There's a lot of alien references, obviously. I mean, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
if you have even heard the concept. But also there's literally a character named Dallas in both, apparently. Could not have told you there was a Dallas in this movie, but it seems such as the case.
Oh,
Is he the pilot with the cowboy hat,
pilot?
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
he's
sense.
the pilot who Jason literally rips into like little shreds of human viscera, like all
And
over
he's the one who gets so horny immediately when they're like, "We found one and a specimen, and it's a woman." And he's like, "A woman?
Woman?
Are you a pirate who's been at sea for 57 years? You have women in your vicinity. You've heard of women before."
There are like 10 hot co-eds at your fucking ship right now, and you're like, there's an ancient woman? Like, okay, relax. Please take
He
a
wants
deep
to
breath.
fuck an old lady. Good for him.
Good for
But
him.
so Waylon sacrifices himself to like blow up a part of the ship.
It's there's basically like part of the ship had started leaking air, and so they were gonna run out of air before their rescue ship came. And so in order to stop that, in order to stop that, I paid attention. In order to stop that, they sealed off these like bridges between two parts of the ship, and then they were gonna blow up the bridges to dislodge that part of the ship from them, so they'd stop hemorrhaging air.
Because that other ship was like, "It'll take us 45 minutes to get there," which is so funny.
They're like, "It'll take us 45 minutes to get there," and
we're in space.
Like, we only have
time and
30
in 45 minutes. That's very California of them.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. I didn't even think about that.
but he like explodes all this kind of stuff. And then there is another
He
man.
explodes and all this kind of stuff.
All that
Yeah, yeah.
classic exploding
all
stuff.
that classic exploding in space.
You've
But
heard of
so then-
explosions in space. Yeah.
You
Um,
know about that.
Yeah. They're picking up what I'm putting down. They know.
Oh, yeah. They know.
But so then their rescue ship finally comes and like docks. There's another army guy who is like a
Oh.
big thing. I love him.
Okay, the
His
army
name starts
guy
with a
needs his
B.
name. What's his name? The army guy is so hot. Who is he? Briggs? Is it Briggs? No. I
Is
don't
it
know.
Boggs?
The pictures are too small.
Briggs.
Briggs.
Dylan Burke? Bjork?
Bjork?
No,
He's
that's
We
a
love
girl.
him.
beautiful.
He dies, but
Briggs
then
is
is
a girl.
immediately.
Never mind.
Well,
Wait, what did I just click? Why do they all have similar names? Why would they do that?
This is fake, and we hold on one second.
I could have sworn Briggs was a boy. I don't know anybody's names, I guess.
It's Brodsky.
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 We're like, we know it starts with a B. What is it?
Sergeant Brodsky. Sexy man.
This is like the most incredible sequence of cinema, I think, to ever be recorded. So,
Probably.
Wait.
What?
That guy was just an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the episodes I watched.
No fucking way. The
Yeah, he
crossover is
plays
too
an
intense.
alien. Hell yeah, Komas.
That's hysterical.
I told you there was something to this crossover.
Can you believe that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is literally just plagiarizing Jason X? It
They
is
literally
honestly
stole one of the stars.
unacceptable.
How dare lawsuit. Good thing we have a podcast lawyer. Lawsuit.
Mhm, mhm.
Um,
We'll reach out
so-
to Jason X creators and be like, we've got a
Give
legal issue
evidence.
for you. Yeah.
But so Rowan, the old lady, Tsunami, and the robot head are all in the escape pod, and Brodsky has sealed the door and is like, it's me and you, Jason, we're gonna battle this out. And then the ship explodes, and all the people in the escape pod are like looking out at the thing, and they're distraught because Brodsky's on there. But then we see Jason coming
Oh
through
my god, I forgot.
the explosion.
Not dead.
He's coming to the ship because it's not over. But right before he gets to the escape pod, Brodsky comes out of nowhere and just like football tackles, like hits him like a semi truck, which I don't think is even humanly possible in space. Like I don't.
Yeah,
think
how's he
that's how it
boosting
works.
himself like that?
Does he
How
have
is
a
he
jetpack?
moving like
He
that?
might have like a space jetpack, you know.
But then
You
we
know,
see
space jetpack.
they're doing the Leonardo DiCaprio Titanic pose where they're like flying through space. And they enter Earth 2's atmosphere, and
yes, of course.
there's
Earth
like
2.
two horny teens down, and they're like, oh look, a shooting star, I think it, and it's just Jason and Brodsky, and they're like, what if let's go see where it landed. I think it landed in a lake. And then all you see is Jason's like silver mask like floating down to the bottom of a lake. End scene. End movie. That's the end of this movie.
That
And
is the end of-
potentially the end of Jason.
yeah, because like
We
at
haven't
least
gotten
the
a film
article I
since.
read says that he died then, and that like he burned up in the atmosphere, and just his mask survived. Just his mask survived. That doesn't make sense. The mask is not alive unless it is.
No, no, no.
Done.
I mean, well, nanotechnology being what it is, we saw those
And
little
of-
tiny ants, but
And of course, like they had to have the place in Earth 2 where it lands like look just like Camp Crystal Lake. Like it can't
Of course.
be any other place. It can't be like at the beach. No, it's at like a wooded area with a lake. Like we see what's happening here.
what if they just started over? Their Earth 2 is in their 1980s now, and they just
Oh my
started
God.
over.
Well, I
Amazing.
know there is there's a reboot in 2009 that I want to say stars Jared Padalecki.
Can we confirm that it does not take place on Earth too? Like, do we
That's
know?
what I'm
You know
saying.
what I
Is
mean?
this Earth 2? Is it who are we to say that this isn't Earth 2?
Is his mask chrome or
No,
is
no.
it not?
It has
That's how you
reverted.
tell.
It's
Doesn't
been in the
he-
water for too long, and now it is
Yeah.
just a regular hockey mask now.
Well, no.
All the metal rubbed off.
I have not seen this remake, just as I have not seen any other Jason movie. But my understanding of the original Jason movies is that he doesn't get the hockey mask until his like second or third movie, right? He's got like
The third movie is when he gets
the
it.
grain bag over his head during one of them, like
That's the
in
second
Fear
movie.
Street. And so it could be that chrome mask is at the bottom of the lake and it's just an artifact to be found by future space archaeologists. But that Jason himself is in fact somewhere else. Perhaps they got separated on re-entry. And he finds the hockey mask or whatever he has in the reboot, whatever he finds, he's not going to swim to the bottom of the lake to find his chrome mask. Like we said, he has no thoughts, only kill. So he's not like hunting down supplies.
That actually doesn't fit his vibe because
Okay.
the entire first part of the movie of
that's
Jason X,
true.
he's killing all of those army people, but it's not because he wants to kill them, it's because he's trying to find his old machete. He doesn't like his new fancy machete, he wants his old machete.
He wants the
and then
OG.
he gets it. So he might go for his Uber mask.
But he only
might
had the mask
go
for
in.
2 seconds. He doesn't have the attachment that he's got to his
He was
original
like, I
machete.
looked so sexy
Which
in
is,
that
like,
mask though.
So funny that they just let him keep the machete every single time. You know what I mean? Like when he was, where did he get the machete from? Did he have it when he was trained up in the research facility? They said, you can just hold on to this and we won't get close. Where did it come from?
No
A
clue.
plot hole.
I wasn't paying enough attention to know. I'm sure there probably is an answer. I'll never know it. That's
bet
fine.
you
It's not my
that
business.
We'll never know.
Oh my god. So that's Jason X. And so the age old question is how could it be gayer, you know? And it's like pretty queer already for me. No one's gay except for Gecko. Outright. But there's a lot of room.
I think Adrienne is asexual because of her incredible ability to tune out all sex going on so that she can focus on her work.
I agree. That scans. And Janessa's definitely queer. You can't look that good in that top and not be queer. Just saying. It was distracting.
I think
It was
there's a lot of
incredibly
room.
distracting.
There's a lot of room for Rowan to be queer. She was going to have a love interest originally in the script. And then at some point they were like, this male character literally is doing nothing but existing to be her love interest. Does she really need one? And so they cut him, which to me implies that like
Gay.
there's a lot of a man was useless to her. Tell me more. You know what I mean? Like the vibes are
Yeah.
there.
I feel that. Oh, wait, what's his name?
Nobody who designs a robot to be their sexy robot is like, that's a queer behavior to me a little bit also, I think. You know what I mean? Like if you're fucking a robot, that is not any kind of gendered anything. You can make it present however you want. Robots do not have a gender. That robot, therefore...
True, she did not have nipples.
She didn't have nipples. Not that you need nipples. And you can be whatever gender you want to be if you're a person and can identify. But that is a robot.
Yeah, that's a robot.
With no nipples.
That's a robot, baby. And he wants to fuck that robot. And I just think
And
there's
good for
room for
him.
that in all of the alphabets.
It's a new sexuality that we don't have quite yet here in 2021.
Give us
because
450
robots have
years,
not
yeah.
taken over the earth. But once robot and android life are a thing, and they are sentient, it's gonna be like Her, baby. You seen that movie? Come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say that Tsunami, or whatever his name is, he has to be canonically the descendant of Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer because they look the exact fucking same vibes, like
And like,
immaculate.
I know that Xander is not the character in Buffy who creates a robot or has sex with a robot, but he would, you know what I mean? Like, if he
he
could,
100% would.
If he had the
So-
opportunity to, he would do it.
Absolutely.
I like that. I think we have good answers for this. Also, I mean, what's Jason's whole deal? Does he have a deal? He doesn't
Jason
have
has mommy
thoughts
issues,
in that way. Yeah.
which doesn't
just-
mean anything necessarily, but it was just an observation.
It's just he hates
He might be asexual. He might be a
angered
sex
by
repulsed
sex.
asexual person. Because you can be asexual and be like sex repulsed or whatever. Otherwise, there's lots of ways to be asexual. I think Adrian is like just not into it, and Jason is like sex repulsed.
Oh, Jason
he's
is
definitely
actively
repulsed.
anti-sex. He's like,
Jason had
"If you
two
had sex, I will
co-eds
kill
whipping
you."
off their shirts, being like titties, and he was like, I will pick up one of these girls, put her in a sleeping bag, and slam her into the other girl in a sleeping bag, which
Wow.
apparently was a reference to the 7th Friday the 13th, in which they have such a scene, which is the one with Heidi Kozak Haddad from Society.
my God.
So we
Wow.
should at some
Let's do
point move
that.
back
That's
around
what, like,
some of
Jason
the other
Alive
Friday
or
the
something
13th.
like that.
Yeah, I don't know. And
So
my friend's dad
down.
was in Friday the 13th 6 too. So like I know there's some good stuff in there. I just haven't made my way to it yet.
We'll get there.
I'm feeling ready to explore that. I'm finally at the place in my life where
Jason
I
X is
can
open your eyes.
dive into the intervening 8 films that I've
Sure.
missed.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, well, like where would Maddie Lily fit into this? And for me, like anywhere he fucking wants. Like he's the right age, he's the right vibe, he's had Y2K down pat, you know, he was the king of that era. So
I
he
think-
could be Tsunami.
I was gonna say Tsunami, but also I just want to point out that there was 2 different background actors in this movie that looked like Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, it was
Like,
Tsunami
2
and the
separate
guy
ones.
in the beginning who was
Yeah.
like, what if I just put this blanket over Jason's head? Will it make him less scary?
I
Also,
wanted to point that out. I thought that was very odd. And also the main girl kind of looked like Olivia Munn. Chelsea kept calling her Olivia
Yeah.
Munn.
Some
No,
of her
that was-
expressions were so expressions Olivia Munn would make, and she would have starred in a Jason X style movie before she became the Aaron Sorkin star that she did.
Tsunami's real name, not real name. His real name is Chuck Campbell, but his character name is Sunaron, but Tsunami is his name. What is the name of the guy with dreads who gets his arm chopped off?
It might
No one
be
knows.
Azrael. That might be him. Let me see.
Yeah, I think so.
IMDb
That sounds
confirm.
about right.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's him. Anyway, I could definitely see Matthew Lillard as that sort of a character. I would hope they wouldn't put him in white boy dreads,
Dreads. I was
Um,
just about to be like, as long as he doesn't have the dreads, down.
but he could get that total like stoner thing going. I mean, we've all seen Scooby Doo. So he'd fit
Yeah,
right in.
what's the is he in Hackers, right? Or what's the other one that he's in? Because I haven't seen that yet. And I think
I
that
haven't
has
seen it
kind of
yet either.
similar cyberpunk vibes to Jason X. So I do think we know he's got the chops. We know he's the aesthetic is right. So
Oh, yeah.
so he could kind of just play into whatever he'd like. Oh, I'm not thinking of Hackers, Matthew Lillard. I'm thinking of
Thinking
what's
of
it? SLC
Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
There's
still
so
haven't
many
seen
beautiful
that
Maddie
either.
Lilies. So many
I've
incredible
never
Maddie
seen
Lilies
that
out
movie,
there.
and he literally has a canonical bisexual line in that film, like a bisexual man line. We're watching it together ASAP. Anyway,
yeah.
he could do whatever he wants with this movie, and he
Mhm.
should. Like,
Yeah.
if we invent a time machine, this is my first stop.
Mhm, mhm.
But I mean, honestly, he was like riding the peak of his fame right then and there. And
Sure.
so like this would be really below him to be in
Yeah.
this movie. But
David Cronenberg is honestly the biggest star that they have in this movie. And I guess like Rowan did star in Andromeda and KM did star in Andromeda. Although I had not heard of that, but maybe it was big in Canada. It went for like 5 years, so it must have been big enough. But yeah, they did not really try to get any American stars in this. You know how like there will be randomly celebrities in all of the other movies, like there'll be like Tyra Banks was in a Halloween or whatever, stuff like that. They just honestly were like, we're filming in Canada and it's cheaper to hire Canadian actors, so we're not even gonna bother. And they just got like a bunch of chill people who are willing to do a chill movie, I guess. And they said, all right, throw it together. And this is what we got.
things come out of Canada, and I loved it.
Sure.
Incredible.
Okay, so that brings us to who is the dumb bitch of this movie. And there was someone we called out during the movie and said they're the dumb bitch. Who was it? I can't remember.
The girl that abandoned her friends and then immediately blew up.
Kesha. What was her name?
How dare you? Her name is like Kinza, and my queen Kesha is a queen, and nobody who shared her name would ever be a dumb bitch.
I would say
Sorry,
her
Kesha.
or the
apologies to
professor.
Kesha.
Oh, the professor.
The professor's sleeping with his students. That's dumb bitch behavior. He should have seen
Professor.
what lies beneath and knows better.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's Professor Lowe for me.
Yeah,
Kesha
I
is a
mean,
good
you
second
know
place.
me. I'm loath to completely hold somebody responsible, not hold them responsible, but I understand where panic escape behavior comes from. He's just fucking students, which is bad, but he does like nipple play, which does that redeem him at all? I don't know.
Slightly.
I like that about him,
It's interesting.
but I don't like him. You know?
And I don't like how he was like, you pass as he came. Like, that was not it for me personally. For him to bring that into their relationship in the bedroom, to me, belied some darker toxic dynamics that I think were inappropriate to put on screen, etc. Whatever. No, I don't care, but he does suck.
Jesus fucking Christ, Chelsea.
Can you imagine if I was like moralizing about Jason X? Like, honestly, Jason X, all bets are off. I don't have any opinions in that way. I don't care.
The dumb bitch is actually David Cronenberg's character, Dr. Wimmer.
That's
He
actually
got us
a great
into this
point.
Situation
Yes.
in the first place. It's a tie between Professor Lowe
If
and
they had
Dr. Wimmer because
just-
they're essentially the same character. It's
Yeah,
just one
if they
gets
had
fleshed out and one
cryogenically frozen
doesn't.
him, because the reason they couldn't kill him, but part of the reason they wanted to freeze him, I think, was like so they could study him in the future for
study him.
science purpose. Oh, actually, then maybe David Cronenberg.
No. She wanted to freeze him. Rowan wanted to freeze him so he would be incapacitated. And
Okay.
they didn't want to freeze him and wanted to transfer him to a facility in Scranton where they could run more tests on him. Yes. So she was pro cryo freeze.
Scranton is so funny because is this pre-office?
Yes, this is pre-office.
Oh my god, why is that so funny? Yeah, the office didn't start until 2005. Unfortunately, Scranton will never be the same to me. But you're right. They were willing to kill him immediately, which is smart, but transferring anybody to Scranton for further scientific research just sounds
and that puts the good people of Scranton in jeopardy.
poor
She
people
was
of
like,
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, she was like, David Cronenberg, are you saying you are willing to sacrifice these people's lives potentially? And he was like, yes.
The good people of Scranton.
The good people of Scranton.
Sacrificing their lives.
In the industrial business neighborhoods of Scranton. Actually, I've never been to Scranton. I only have seen The Office.
All right, well, that brings us to our knives out of 5. And so yeah, this movie was panned, right, Chelsea?
yeah. This movie
there's no way it
absolutely panned.
wasn't.
It got a 4.4 out of 10 on IMDb, and it got 19%, which as you may guess, is rotten from critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
Shocking.
And then audiences gave it 25% rotten. So still pretty bad. Like Sydney said earlier, it was the absolute floppest of anything in the franchise at the box office, but it was actually the most successful of like DVD sales. So
Hey, it
I
counts.
mean, you know, in that sense, I think it might have been one of the most successful Friday the 13th movies, which is incredible and alarming. Because I'm so tempted to just be like, no stars, you know what I mean? Like no knives.
Yeah, I could see that coming from you. Yeah.
I have space in my brain and my understanding of the world to imagine that there is some perfect combination of circumstances and vibes and whatsoever happenings that would put me in a frame of mood to absolutely have a blast watching this film. Unfortunately, that was not the experience that I had last night, and it is not an experience that I anticipate having anytime soon. Like, I'm not ready to rule it out the way that I don't think I would ever have a good time watching Hills Have Eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that's in the cards for me. This one, I could see it, but I don't see the pathway of how to get there. I just know it's out of all the realities in the world, the multiverse, whatever, you know what I mean? There's one out there in which I'm having a great time watching Jason X. Not this one, unfortunately. Not this one.
Chelsea's like, I wish I could give you a 0, but I can't. So I'm gonna give you a 1.
and maybe I will. Maybe that's the right call. Tyra Banks knew what she was doing, knew what she was saying. Maybe like subconsciously, that's why I brought her up a minute ago talking about Halloween. I'm gonna give this a 1 knife. So it's a 1 knife movie for me, I guess.
What did we give Thanksgiving?
I think also, I gave it a 1. Sydney gave it a 1, and you gave it a 1.1.
Fair. Okay.
What did
Thank
we
you
give
for that
Hills Have
context?
Eyes?
A 0.
No, you gave it a 1.11111. Sydney gave it a 2.5, and I gave it a 1.5.
Fucking hate that movie.
But that's
so
just
much.
because it was like well put together. That's not
It
because
was
I
a
enjoyed it. For me,
movie.
you know, knives is a complicated calculus sometimes because it's like
yeah.
sometimes
It's just
I
vibes.
am just
it's all
truly
vibes.
just vibes.
It's just vibes.
Sometimes
It's
I'm like
just
I
vibes.
hated this, but it was well put together, and then sometimes I'm like this was poorly put together, but I had an absolute blast, all cursed. And then sometimes you've got Jason X, and it's like not quite either for me.
For me, my expectations were set correctly.
Okay.
Yeah. I watched the trailer and I love the trailer so much. And I was like, this is going to be incredible. But like, not incredible in the way where you're like, I will remember this always. Well, I will remember this always, probably. But not in like a positive way. You know what I mean? Like, I saw this, I was like, this is gonna be fucking awful in the best way. And I would say that it was fucking awful in like a pretty good way. Like, it didn't go all the way to the best way. Because like they didn't play the Bodies Hit the Floor song.
Sure.
In the film.
They should have.
They should have.
And they should have played it like the whole time, like it was a music video.
Just
and that would have really done it for me. But they didn't go there, and I get that, but I'm disappointed. But it also went to places that I never could have expected. Did I expect nipple play?
Nope.
No, I did not. Did I expect the VR fucking titty scene? I did not expect that. Did I expect a girl to be turned into Lil Mush, the hottest girl of all? I didn't expect that, and I didn't like that. I wish that she had lived. So like it had me on my toes. It has its flaws, like the fucking 25 minutes where thousands of people we've never seen before nor ever cared about die. But like I feel like if they had just fixed that part up a little bit, I wouldn't have gotten so fatigued by the end, and I would have given this a much higher score because I've given terrible things great scores before. And I will again in my life. But I'm gonna give this like a 2.89999999. It's almost a 3, which is almost half. And I think that that's good. But I say that in a positive way. No, I'm giving it a 3. I'm giving it a 3. I'm giving it a 3. What did I give a 3? This is way better than Anna and the Apocalypse for me.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing. Part of me was like, I want to give it a 3, but I wasn't sure. So I was like, maybe I'll do a 2.5.
Give me a 3. Sydney and I are the same bitch.
Wow.
Because here's the thing.
Sometimes.
This movie is, I love a good, like, I had a good time watching it. And here's the thing too. Watching Chelsea watch this movie, I think made this movie for me.
Incredible.
Like, you know how like sometimes when you're like with people, it like makes the movie experience better.
Yes.
Just watching Chelsea, like the 50 shades of Chelsea's face that she had during this movie.
I've never seen
Bumped it
so
up.
many different ways to look pissed, you know? Like,
Pissed. Like she went
Maybe
from,
that's why I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys, because I
Yeah,
was not part of the
you
show.
should have
for
watched
me.
it in a mirror.
you should have looked at your own reflection in the Zoom call.
Yeah. What do you mean you don't watch your
That's
own
what I was
self?
doing.
Oh, I do, but not when I'm watching something else.
Oh man. Are you giving it a 3, Sydney?
I'm giving it a 3.
Oh, Jason
Horrifying, upsetting.
X.
Live your
Jason
truth, bestie.
X. Oh my god. Okay. That was Jason X, y'all. Stay tuned for the other 8 films in the franchise.
Can
We're
you
gonna
imagine
do
if we were
all
just
of
like
them.
in next week? Yeah.
Yeah. And this is us unveiling our plan for the next 8 weeks. Every Friday the 13th movie in a row. Can you imagine? That'd be so we'd lose every listener. We're actually going to the almost present for next year. Or for next week. We're going to the year 2021. And
It
we're
was
going
just like yesterday.
it was just like yesterday.
You guys are still writing the date wrong. Don't worry. We've got you. We've got a 2021 movie just for that.
And this is a movie that, once again, none of us have seen, right? You guys haven't
Nope,
seen it, right?
none of us
No, I
have
haven't
seen
seen it, which is unfair of us. We should have watched it immediately when it came out.
It's honestly rude of us because if you know anything about us gals here on this pod, it's that we fucking love Megan Fox. And
And
so
apparently
why
we like going in blind to movies recently. So
Yeah.
we've just been raw dogging these movies, y'all.
Yeah, season 2, no rules. We're just like going wild. Like we might bring you terrible, terrible, terrible shit, and we're not doing any sort of pre-screening process anymore. That's out the window. So then now next week we're gonna do Till Death, starring Megan Fox, and I know literally one thing about it, and that's that Megan Fox
is
was
in it.
in it. That's it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
set in snow. There's snow and Megan
There's
Fox
snow.
is there.
Winter.
And maybe it's
Love
about
that.
marriage. 'cause
Yes,
Till
I've heard
Death.
that.
Marriage, Snow, Megan Fox,
What?
2021.
True
There you
love.
go.
I did just watch Princess Bride.
So watch it with us for the very first time, and then we'll dive into it next week. Sorry if it sucks, but at the very least it's gonna be
At the
pretty
very
good.
least, it's got Megan Fox. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
So that's
So, like,
So you know the
Don't
memes are
fucking
gonna be
complain.
fire.
Oh yeah. Social for the next week is going to be so good. So you might as well go ahead and follow us at spooky_Tuesday on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram right now. And why not give us a 5-star review while we're at it? You can do that on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, and can you do it on Spotify? You might be able to now. I don't know. Why don't you go check it out and find out and let us know?
you report back. You tell
You
us.
report back. You let us know. We're also
By leaving us a
but
review.
No, yeah, let us know and give us a 5-star review and say, "See, I did it." You can also follow us on Tumblr and Facebook at Spooky Tuesday Pod, and we are on Letterboxd at Spooky Tuesday. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year.
Hey, you want a beer? Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
We love premarital sex!
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamra Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamra, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.